for this nice presentation myself. And thank you for inviting me here, having a talk about wolf status and management in Slovenia. Well, we will start with a little bit bigger picture, because we will go quite substantially into zoom in. So this is the current situation regarding the wolf distribution in Europe, and below the red dot here you can see the big pink area, which is actually belong to so-called generic. Thank you. So-called generic Balkan population. The generic Balkan population of wolves is estimated to about 4,000 wolves, more or less. And Slovenia, as a small country, has only this appendix here. And the number of wolves is probably only 1 to 2% of the generic Balkan population. However, in this alpine context, this small appendix of generic Balkan population might act quite important role regarding the possible recolonization of the Alps from the southeast. However, wolf population in Slovenia we can divide into two areas, two groups, so-called generic part and alpine part. However, this is one population that actually extends toward the alpine region. Well, if I give you just some milestones regarding the history of wolf management in Slovenia, in 1973, there were permanently abolished awards for kill wolves. Since 1976, hunting season on wolves has been determined. So even in that period, the government or the hunting organization start thinking about some kind of sustainable use of the wolves. So in 1993, wolves became fully protected with the national legislation, of course, in accordance with the Habitat Directive. However, you can see here some maps of wolf distribution in different time periods in Slovenia. You can see that there is not a very big change in population area or wolf area in Slovenia. However, you can see that till 1960s, wolves actually disappeared from alpine region and probably reached the minimum at the end of 70s and beginning of 80s. However, after 1990, wolf population gradually recovered and started dispersing into alpine area again. So since 1999, more systematic monitoring started or began to develop in Slovenia. By this, let's say, first attempts of kind of wolf monitoring in Slovenia, the estimates of wolf populations were somewhere between 70 and 100 individuals. However, after that period, so in 1990, states was obliged to deal with the damages, obliged with to deal with the effects or the consequences of the wolves. So if you look at this graph, you can see that since 1994 or 1995, the damage compensation start raising, and but some, especially politicians, simply converted these damages into the wolf increase. However, if you look at the next graph, you can see that in the same period, the number of small cattle, so sheep and goats, increased from 20,000 to 140,000, and it grew also a little bit till 2010, 2011. So the picture was not so clear, and in that period, contrasting demands appeared in Slovenian wolf scene, if I can say so, with demands on one side for full protection and demands for a stronger wolf control on the other. So if we look at the status of wolf removals in Europe, we can see that Slovenia also used the Article 16 as for example, France, to some kind control or deal with the wolf population. And because of those striking or those contrasting demands, there were really appealing to get a better picture about wolf population in Slovenia, and of course to get a better wolf management, or especially management plan, we are calling it action plan. So we had an opportunity to do that within the LIFE project, called shortly Slow Wolf project, with a main, let's say, focus on long-term conservation of the wolf population on the one side, of course, prey and habitats, and improvement of their coexistence with humans. We can expose here two of the main focuses. One, to develop and to optimize the population monitoring methods, so establishing some kind of higher solution monitoring. And second, to reduce damages of wolves to agriculture, improve coexistence, and of course, in that way, decrease human-wolf conflicts. During the project, wolf action plan has been prepared. In this wolf action plan, in the preparation of this wolf action plan has been involved or invited all interested groups, and of course in 2013 it has been adopted by Slovenian government. In addition, this wolf action plan had also guidelines for wolf monitoring in Slovenia. Since within the Slow Wolf project, we tried to establish, to test, to develop or to improve methods for monitoring. And on the other side, we tried to analyze the damages and try to take some so-called protective or prevention measures to diminish the problem of damages. So I will give you just a short overview or a few words about the damages of wolves to agriculture in Slovenia, and within analysis of the damages caused by wolves in Slovenia, it was clearly shown that there is very, very few farms or sheep breeders that have actually where wolves actually cause about more than 40% of all damages in Slovenia. Well, the amount of damages in that time were around 300,000 euros, which maybe it is not very big number in relation to France, because as you could see, they give 13 million for mitigation measures. However, for Slovenia, this means quite a large number. However, these damages are also something that affects social climate, if I can say so, regarding the wolf attitudes. So 40% of all compensations has been paid only to 7 farms, for example, for year 2009. So it was clear that there are hotspots with problematic farms or areas where wolves cause a lot of damages. So within a project, several different measures were involved or tried to diminish those damages. However, night enclosures, so small electric fences with heights between 145 and 170 centimeters, proved to be one of the most appropriate measures for preventing damages, especially on sheep and goats, because 90% of all damages had been done or had been caused on these two species. After application of those fences on those hotspots, in some areas damages decrease even for 100% or but surely for about 70% the damages decreased after the application of those preventive methods. Another thing, so establishing so-called high resolution monitoring, we tried to apply a set or a minimum set of monitoring methods that could give the best results and to give us the best picture about the number of wolves, number of packs, wolf packs in Slovenia. So we divided those methods into several groups. First, field-collected spatial and demographic parameters, which involved howling surveys, collecting non-invasive genetic samples, inspecting damage cases, and of course doing winter transit counts. Of course, examination and analysis of dead wolves, and third, so-called checking the conservation status using so-called non-invasive genetics, like estimating population size estimates, different demographic parameters, and so-called genetic diversity measures. And fourth, we had the opportunity to use also so-called GSM telemetry to get good insight into spatial, let's say, relations regarding the pack distribution in Slovenia. So, GPS telemetry is something that is not regularly used to monitor wolves in Slovenia. The decision was that these methods are very useful or powerful tool to show people the spatial demands of the wolves. Of course, we can use it for many other purposes. However, they will be used from time to time, especially if there are chances to get some additional projects to get those data. However, within this study, we got good insights into territory sizes or home ranges for Slovenian wolves in the Dinaric region, because there is more or less stable distribution of wolves in that area, with a mean size of home range size at about 400 square kilometers. Additionally, as Francesca already showed you, we had really luck to to be able to document really, let's say, high resolution journey of the wolf. And the story was exceptional because it was successful. There was a new area after a new pack after 150 years of absence of wolves established in Lubjiana Park, which was a journey after 1,000 kilometers long journey. Of course, it is very useful to study wolf movements, to study wolf reproduction, to study wolf nutrition. However, it is quite costly and it is really time-consuming to use it as a regular monitoring method. So another one, snow tracking. It is very useful for many reasons to obtain data for wolf distribution of packs, winter pack sizes, characteristics of movements, and of course very important for collecting non-invasive genetic samples, and of course to have we have opportunity to give to have an analysis of prey remains. For example, here is a structure of reindeer that we found tracking wolves. However, snow conditions, especially in Slovenia, in the Nerex, and also in the Alpine regions, are very unpredictable and very variable from year to year. So, using or to relying basically on a snow tracking is very unreliable. So we're using snow tracking now more or less as an additional method, especially to collect additional non-invasive genetic samples. So third method that we use is our howling test. This is a kind of simulation of intruder with howling, intruder wolf with howling, and wolves are provoked to reply with howling back, especially in certain seasons. The method is really used to obtain data on territorial packs or pairs, and to detect reproduction events, so litters. Especially if you're doing this in a very systematic way. We divided wolf area in Slovenia in cells of 3 by 3 kilometers, and those howling tests, those howling simulations were done in 3 subsequent nights simultaneously. It was very important to involve into this monitoring volunteers and also professional hunters, then park rangers and all other interested people. Of course, it is very important to have a network of such participants, and on the other side, this is some kind of awareness campaign regarding wolves. Well, it proved that it is quite a successful method if you're doing so systematically, and these are, for example, results for the last year, 2015, and here you can see the number of course, we are getting in this way the minimum number of litters. The red squares represents litters that were detected. And at the end, some kind of complementary method, so-called non-invasive genetic. It is very important because we can get really a lot of answers about the population or that we are doing the monitoring. So sources for such genetics monitoring or samples are feces, urine, saliva on dead animals like sheep or goat or wild prey, and then we are getting some kind of DNA fingerprint. So it is also very important to have terrain or field network of people, trained people that can collect all these samples. Then using appropriate methodology, so-called capture methods or models, we were able to calculate quite accurate estimates about the population size in Slovenia. For example, for years 2011, 12 and 13, we get results with a quite narrow confidence intervals, and we estimated that there is about 45 to 60 wolves present in Slovenia each year with quite narrow confidence intervals. Of course, since Slovenia is so small, we have a lot of packs that are sharing with other countries, like especially Croatia, and we also detect how many animals are coming from those packs. On the other side, it was possible, since we are doing these methods continuously, we were able to detect animals that actually disappear from population. Some of them we know, so we know as a mortality, known mortality, and some just disappeared. We found them in a certain year, but they didn't appear anymore in subsequent years. So we were able to estimate the percentage of animals that actually disappear out of the population, also through the dispersal and so on. So we found out that about 46% of population per year actually disappear, or through mortality or to other causes, mortality and dispersal. 29% of those were reproductive animals, so-called alphas. On the other side, there was a good news, even though that mortality was quite good, high. There were 56% of new wolves appearing in a population each year. Some probably just passing through, but nevertheless. And 45% of those 56% were animals that born parents in Slovenia. So, at the end, since in Slovenia there is actually no, let's say, free-living stray dogs, we were not expected that there will be any hybridization problem. However, checking the genetic structures of wolves regarding the hybridization, we found that there are some genotypes that indicate that there might be hybrids. However, we were analyzed data for northern part or north Dinaric or northern part of Dinaric population of wolves, and it was clearly shown that animals that were identified as the hybrids are coming from a southern part of this part, so southern Dalmatia. Well, the reasons for this can be explained somewhere else or later. However, it was quite clear that in Slovenia we didn't recognize any hybrids. So far, as a conclusion, I can say that in last at least in last 6 years, wolf population in Slovenia is quite stable. I think that the management that has been developed in last 6 years has a good background to be possibly improved in next year, not just for the management, but also to be improved for the wolves too. Thank you very much.